Welcome to the Real Freedom Podcast, where we inspire you to pursue your passion to gain time and financial freedom through opportunities in real estate. I'm your host, Mike Swenson. Let's get some real freedom together. All right, welcome everybody to another episode of the Real Freedom Podcast, where we talk about building time and financial freedom through opportunities in real estate. And one of the things that we find out often is people think that they have to have money stashed in a bank, readily available to be able to buy a property with. And for some people, they feel like I've got to come up with the whole down payment myself. And so I've got to wait till I save up 100, 200, 300,000 in my bank account to be able to do that. And so today we're going to talk a lot about self-directed IRAs and how that opens up a lot of different opportunities for people where maybe you've got money sitting in a 401k from a previous employer. Maybe you have your own retirement account that you're saving for, and you're not super jazzed about stocks and mutual funds and that, and you want to put it to some different things backed by real estate. There's a lot of really cool things that you can do in addition to having money, stashed aside in a CD or something like that. And so today we've got Corey Daharsh here, and he's going to talk about self-directed IRAs, how to be able to unlock that potential in addition to just, like I had mentioned, putting all of your money into one property. There's opportunities where you could put your retirement funds into syndications and be able to be a smaller part of a larger purchase and make a lot of money that way too. So there's so many things that you can do inside of a self-directed IRA. And probably your financial planner hasn't talked to you about it. And there's a reason why they haven't talked to you about it as well. And so Corey's going to walk through all that stuff. So I will mention, for those of you folks listening to the podcast, if you want to go watch this, because Corey does have some slides, you can go to our YouTube channel, which is just Real Freedom, REL Freedom, and watch the slide deck there. And then in addition to, Corey's going to have this available in PDF form. So if you want to reach out to him and get the slide deck, we'll talk about that later in the episode. So with that being said, Corey, welcome. And we'd love to just kind of hear a little bit about your background before you got to Advanta IRA, and then what you're doing now and why self-directed IRAs are a good thing for people to consider.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Mike. I appreciate you for having me here today. I look forward to bringing your audience some good educational content and information. Again, just tapping into retirement capital for investors. We deal with a lot of real estate investors at Advanta IRA, so it's something I'm very familiar with. And just my background, as you just alluded to, I've been with the company for about 6 years. But even prior to that, I've always had an interest in banking and finance, and I've been taking accounting classes since high school. I got a business management degree and also pursued accounting in college, but really decided in college, I was working in banks and credit unions to put myself through college, that I didn't want to be a day-to-day CPA or really deal with the exact ins and outs of numbers. So I kind of pivoted and transitioned. I actually started with a small tech startup company straight out of college. That didn't work out the way I expected or anticipated it to. And then I found Advanta IRA, and it was a way to get back into banking and finance, but not necessarily, becoming a number cruncher for the duration of my working and career life. And it also afforded me the opportunity to really learn from the people that I'm networking with or handling as clients in order to help them grow and build their own portfolios. So I spent about 5 years as a client account manager with Advanta, basically having a roster of clients assigned to me and processing their day-to-day transactions. And once I decided to move up to where I'm currently located in Western North Carolina from our Florida office, I transitioned into education, sales, business development role, where what I currently do is a lot of networking, jumping on podcasts, with groups like yours, or going into the local investor community and just teaching people that this even exists. Because in itself, self-directed investing is only about 4% of the retirement account industry. Not a lot of people know about it. So a lot of our education is driven on teaching people that it exists, and a lot of our content is driven on free education and customer service. So just about me, if you are watching the slide deck, I've got all my contact information here, but I will have it again at the end. I'll also say it out loud at the end as well. And again, as mentioned earlier, you can ask me for the slide deck and I'm happy to provide a PDF if you're listening to this and you want to see any of the content. So Advanta IRA as a company has been around for about 20 years. We've got just under 10,000 active clients and just over 2 billion in assets under management. We are a key player in the self-directed space. Our fees are, comparable with a lot of other companies and even significantly lower than some companies out there. And we provide a concierge level customer service to our clients where you work with one person, pretty much myself on the onboarding side. And once an account's set up, you actually only have one person that you're dealing with then that handles your day-to-day operations. That customer service, client account manager role I spent 5 years doing is something that not a lot of other companies in our space offer. So you may have to call your custodian like you would with those larger wirehouse companies and deal with a different person every time you call. Basically, you have the chance of having to explain everything you want to do to a different person every time you reach out. Well, that's not the way we operate. We allow our account managers to build a one-to-one rapport with their clients, and it makes everyone have a better experience, a smoother, simpler transaction processing timeline, and it really has bode well for our clients, and we get a lot of referral business and repeat clients because we offer that hands-on kind of white glove, if you will, customer service. I do have a brief disclaimer before I get too far into the educational component here. We do not provide tax, legal, or financial advice. We are strictly a non-fiduciary alternative asset administrator. So my slides today and the content I'm going to talk about today does have some educational content and even some case studies. It's not specifically any investment advice. I'm not providing any due diligence. So anyone that's a self-directed investor should be consulting their own teams, doing their own due diligence, CPAs, tax preparers, financial advisors, before they enact in any specific transaction they may be considering. So my agenda today, specifically, I want to talk about what self-directed accounts are, what types of plans you can self-direct, and what types of assets are allowed to be held within them, how to get an account funded and basically start it up, whether you're moving money from elsewhere or you're just starting your first retirement plan and making your first contribution for any tax filing year. Then again, I've got some case studies really centered around real estate investing today. But again, there's a wider range of investments you could hold that I'll go over in a few moments. And then at the very end, I'm going to offer some free education, some networking opportunities that we have. And also, if you're a capital raiser or if you're someone looking to pool other more money from other investors, we've got some marketing materials that we prepare as a complimentary resource as well. So I'll cover those at the very end. So stick around if you want to hear how you can network with us or get more free education or free marketing materials from us as well. So what is a self-directed IRA is, the basis point here. A self-directed IRA is really a retirement account. It can be a 401k for that matter. We also offer self-directed health savings and education savings accounts. But really, it's a retirement product that you're not being told what you can and cannot invest into, aside from what the IRS rules and regulations are. A lot of those larger custodians, your larger wirehouse custodians that offer stocks, bonds, and mutual funds, may call a product self-directed and then give you a list of 20 different assets they will allow you to self-direct into. But a truly self-directed custodian and or administrator, again, just follows what the IRS allows or does not allow and lets you as a client pick whatever asset classes, whatever dollar amount, whatever you'd like to do with your plan. And that's what we offer at Advanta IRA. So the basic asset classes that are involved here are real estate, hard money lending, whether it's secured or unsecured. So basically being a mortgage lender with your retirement account, investing into syndications, as Mike referenced, private placement deals as a limited partner. Foreign currency and precious metals are some lesser utilized, but commonly known assets that people hold in their retirement accounts. Futures trading, and there's much more. A colleague, Larissa Green, and I have actually done a webinar on our series on the most unique investments we've ever seen, and there are really some wild ones. It's really limited what the IRS doesn't allow you to invest into. So if you've got a specific expertise or a specific way you've been making money in the past, there's likely a way to utilize your tax-sheltered retirement dollars to do that same thing. And again, as Mike mentioned, if you're not familiar with self-directed investing, that's very common. only about 4% of retirement accounts in the country are self-directed. Your larger custodians that are serving as fiduciaries likely don't bring this up to you or don't want you to know about it because they're not going to be able to get a management fee or an earnings fee based on what you're self-directing. Their best interest is to keep themselves as your fiduciary, guiding you into stocks, bonds, or mutual funds. And depending on how those are performing for you, you're still paying them a rate or a fee for that management. So that's why those companies typically shun away from letting you know that these types of account administrators even exist and these types of products are allowing these investments. And just to put it into scope with that 4% figure, as of Q1 of 2022, there was just shy of 40 trillion with a T, trillion dollars in the US retirement account industry. So only about 4% of that 40 trillion is currently being self-directed, whereas everyone has the opportunity to do so. If they just learned a little bit and again, had some sort of expertise of investing, it's definitely a tool you could take advantage of.
Yeah, and just to chime in for a second, I think that's, from my perspective here, like if you're interested in learning more, a lot of people will want to go to their financial advisor and be like, hey, I've heard about this self-directed IRA. Tell me more about that. And yeah, like you said, the likelihood is that person honestly may not know that much about self-directed IRAs, or they're going to try to steer you to the things that they're getting paid on. And so just understanding that, like if you want to go learn about self-directed IRAs, talking to somebody like Corey is really helpful because now you're getting it straight from the horse's mouth and not somebody who's going to be financially compensated to not suggest that to you. And so, or if you have other people that that have done self-directed IRAs, ask them about their experience. And so you can do research, just understand that the financial advisor is not going to be the one that's going to provide you the unbiased opinion here of what to do. And so as real estate investors, you've got to go do your own due diligence. You've got to go learn about it. And that financial advisor is probably not going to be the person that's going to give the glowing review on it. You want to go talk to somebody like yourself, Corey, that can give you, here's what you can actually do with it, and kind of open up your mind a little bit to think about. And like you said, there's so many other things in addition to real estate. Like we're talking about real estate, but there's so many cool things that you can do outside of it. And so, yeah, just wanted to chime in with that.
No, that is a great point, Mike. And to your credit, I've seen all different scopes of that conversation. I've seen the financial advisor that basically shuns or puts down any thought of the client self-directing. I've seen a financial advisor that understands that client has an expertise in real estate investing and is okay with it. I've seen a CPA that until they had a conversation with me, didn't even know this existed, and the client was the one that did the research and was trying to get their CPA and financial advisor on board and facilitated a conversation with me where I was able to walk away getting that client, to get their CPA to sign off on making alternative investments, and having that CPA walk away with a broader understanding to then further advise other clients that may have some sort of expertise or investment, panning out that they could self-direct. And it doesn't always work where those people think that all the money has to stay with them. There are people out there in the industry that understand diversification is a key component of any investor's goal and strategy. So just because someone wants to self-direct a portion of their funds doesn't mean that fiduciary is losing, in most cases, all of the nest egg that person's built up for themselves. So it's really a good thing to kind of have a full circle team that's willing to work with each other if you're that type of investor.
Yeah.
But the type of plans that can be self-directed, we offer pretty much any type of US-based retirement plan. So we're talking your standard traditional and Roth IRAs that many people are familiar with. As I mentioned earlier, health savings and education savings account. If you've got a health savings plan or a high deductible health policy, you can have a health savings plan either covering yourself or your family. Education savings accounts for those young ones in your life that you want to start building money for private school or for their continuing education after grade school. And then for small business owners, we actually offer a few different products, whether you're a sole proprietor or a small business owner with no wage earners, W-2 wage earners, rather, correct myself. That's a great solo 401k client, you have a much higher contribution limit with a solo 401k than you do with an IRA account. And we also offer some lesser known SEP and simple IRAs for small business owners. If you're interested in any of those types of plans, that's the conversation I have with you at the onboarding side is let's talk about what your goals are, what your needs are, what type of plan will fit you best. I can send you some ebooks or some documentation from a website and really put the power on you to do a little bit of research yourself, find out what works best for you and what type of plan allows you to self-direct, make the most money as contributions into your plan each year, and get the most return out of it as well when you're ready to start drawing on these retirement dollars. So the key components that people choose to start self-directing is when they're an active or avid investor in the first place and they find out that this is a new source of capital they can tap into. So you may be at that point yourself listening to this podcast and just hearing what I've said so far. Oh, well, I am a real estate investor and I already do fix and flips and I've got this previous employer 401k or I've got this IRA I've built up 100, 150k in, and that seems to be my sweet spot with finding distressed properties and turning around and flipping them. So this in itself could be that aha moment with the light bulb for you. And if it is, that's great. Some other people may be fatigued with the stock market, all the fluctuations or I guess lack thereof fluctuations at this point this year, just the downturn, maybe just something that you're getting tired of and want to diversify into other asset classes. And then also the tax benefit. Obviously, with a traditional retirement account, you're talking about tax deferred money. So whatever you grow in a traditional retirement account, you're going to pay taxes on later in life as you distribute it, and it'll be added to your ordinary earned income when you make those distributions. But likewise, if you have a Roth account and you make investments with that Roth money, you'll never have to pay taxes on it. So if it's a real estate transaction, the retirement account is not subject to capital gains when you sell the property. So in theory, you could turn a $150,000 real estate investment into a $300,000 real estate sale in a Roth IRA and have literally doubled your money that you never pay taxes on that extra $150,000 that you've generated there. So it's a smart tool for a lot of people. There is some understanding that you'll have to do as an account holder and just as a tax matter consideration when you're deciding to do Roth conversions or not. That's for your CPA and your tax preparer to help you with, though. Mm. It's important when you're self-directing to invest with people Again, you're being the fiduciary and you're completing all the due diligence for your own investments. So you don't want to jump out there and just barely meet someone and jump into their deal. You want to make sure you're doing full, thorough, diligent research and you're comfortable with who you're investing into. Part of what we do at Advanta, as I mentioned earlier, we've got a networking forum where you can meet and network with some investment providers that have been in our network and our clients that have been in our network. We facilitate that every other Friday. It's a call, we call it Pitch, Promote, and Prosper. But also just find your local groups, your local RIA group, the community that this podcast has. I'm sure there's some way for you to network with other podcast listeners and connect with Mike directly for that type of community. But make sure you're doing that as you're deciding what investments to partake in. Moving money into a self-direct plan is really easy. It's a common misnomer. People think that, oh, if I want to switch to a self-direct account, I'm going to have to pay taxes on that money or there's going to be penalties and fees. That is not correct. It's really easy if you have an existing plan and you want to move into the same type of plan, but a self-directed version. It's really easy. You just fill out one form for us. We submit it over to that custodian usually, and the money's received within typically about a week's time, conservatively speaking. It's a non-taxable event. It's even a non-reportable event. So there's no tax documentation going into you moving money from an IRA with another custodian to a self-directed IRA account. You just fill out a back office custodian to custodian transfer request form. And the other way to move money is a rollover. So if you've got a previous employer 401k or you've got another type of plan and you want to move into a certain type of plan that's not the same as you're rolling out of, all you do is initiate a distribution. It does create taxable reporting. So that distribution will be reported to the IRS on Form 1099-R. But once you roll that money into a qualified plan, that is also reported to the IRS on Form 5498, And the rule works where as long as that dollar amount washes each other out, there's no taxable event for you taking place. You're allowed to do a rollover like that once every rolling calendar year. So keep in mind, if you do it tomorrow, you do have to wait 365 days before you do it again. But again, you're allowed to do it. It's not a taxable event. It may generate taxable reporting when you are having to do a rollover as opposed to the transfer, but you're not going to have any tax consequence unless you go out of your way and decide to do a Roth conversion and pay the taxes now so that the earnings and the investments you make grow completely tax-free moving forward. Now, the rules and regulations about investing, I've alluded to them a few times as being real simple, real loose. There's a lot of things you can invest into. From the IRS's perspective, the only investments that they prohibit are life insurance policies within IRAs. You cannot invest into a life insurance policy. And anything that the IRS would deem to be a hard to value collectible or subjective in valuation, like antiques, fine wine, some old cars or artwork, stamps, those types of things are subjective. You may, as a avid vehicle enthusiast, may think a old Corvette that's a little bit rusty is worth significantly more than I do, who's not a car, enthusiast and just sees a rusty a rusty vehicle. So anything subjective, the IRS won't let you hold. Aside from that, pretty much anything you could want to hold in a retirement account, you can. We've seen livestock, we've seen raw land, we've seen heavy equipment and machinery, different real estate projects as we've gone into more specifically here. But it really opens up a lot of opportunity for people. There are some coins allowed, typically non-circulating coins and foreign currency. That in itself is a separate topic for a separate day, but I'm happy to have that conversation if you are a coin investor or a foreign currency investor of any sort that wants to learn about that. Now, aside from those investments that are prohibited, the only other thing that the IRS really does to restrict your investments are label what's known as disqualified persons. Disqualified persons are yourself, your spouse, and your lineal tree, so your parents and your children. Those are individuals that you're not allowed to transact with. So you can't buy a piece of property from your parents in the name of your retirement account, or you can't buy a piece of property in the town that your children are going to college at and let your child rent it and be the tenant of that property. Those are disqualified transactions based on the disqualified persons rules. But having said that, you are allowed to partner with disqualified persons. So your retirement account can actually buy a piece of property owned split with your parent or your parent's retirement account, or your spouse or your children, or even yourself. So in theory, I could go out with my IRA and buy 50% of a piece of property and myself personally be the other 50% owner. So as Mike was referring to earlier, as you're building your portfolio, whether it's your retirement balance or your personal investment portfolio, there are ways to tap into this money to get up to a threshold for you to buy that next deal or get into that next step up property that you're looking to get into. It's not necessarily structured as a down payment versus owning the rest of the property outright. So that is a common misnomer, is that you cannot use the retirement account as a down payment. It does have to be commensurate with the dollar amount gone into the deal being relative exactly to the ownership percentage on the deed of title in the property or in the deal directly. That's something, again, I have that conversation with everyone that I'm onboarding, make sure they understand with whatever strategy they're looking to utilize, where they kind of have to change their thought a little bit, or where the rules lie versus what they're attempting to accomplish. And most times we can get those scenarios worked out to a worthwhile investment strategy for any investor that's already got an idea in mind or already got a specific property or a plan in mind for a deal. If you are looking at the screen, we also have some little known taxes that may apply in certain investment scenarios. They're called UBIT, or unrelated business income tax, and UDFI, unrelated debt financed income. Those only come into play in certain investment case scenarios where you're either utilizing your retirement account to buy an investment with leverage, so basically being a borrower in the name of your retirement account, or if you're investing into a not so passive entity that's generating operating income and operating applicable taxes. So those are niche scenarios. You'll work with your CPA or your tax preparer if you're in those scenarios. And if you're looking at deals that may involve those scenarios, you're likely already on the same page with that. We've got great content that go over that specifically as well. But again, it's displayed here, and I'm bringing it up specifically so it doesn't come as a shot in the dark later for any of those investors, but we've definitely got you covered if you need some more information. So the real estate asset classes, I know we're here to talk about real estate. You can hold a single family home, whether it be for long-term, short-term, fix and flip, condos in the same capacity. You can join into a mobile home park or own a specific mobile home unit as an investor, whether it be owning in the name of your retirement account or as a limited partner capacity in a larger LLC deal or some sort of corporate structure. Tax deed and lien investing is a great strategy for those of you that may just be getting started with retirement accounts and may just be making your first contribution this year and you've only got a few hundred or a few $1,000s. You can actually go to the auction in the county of your choice and submit an auction claim on a tax deed or a tax lien and generate some really good income and start building your portfolio up from there. It's a great strategy for those just getting started or just wanting to dip their toes in the water before they take on a full, domicile or any other type of property investment. REITs or real estate investment trusts, we also commonly see invested, and then syndications and private placements. I don't think I actually said this earlier, Mike, but to be honest and truthful, over half of our client base are real estate investors in some capacity. So of all these asset classes within real estate that I've just described, I would honestly say about 60, if not higher percent of our client base are doing some form of real estate investing in their retirement account. So it's a great niche for those investors. It's a great way to tap into extra capital.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, I know we're running on time. I did have some case studies, so we'll just forego jumping into the case studies. I will have them on the slide deck, so anyone that's interested, I've got a case study, how to invest into a syndication. I've got a case study, how to purchase rental real estate, how to partner on real estate, and also how to set up what's known as a checkbook LLC, which is really a strategy where, as an investor, you get more direct access and direct control of your retirement account dollars in a bank account that you're the only one that manages. So those case studies are here for anyone that's listening to this podcast and has interest. Feel free to reach out to me directly. Setting up an account with Advanta only takes about 15 minutes. It's a really quick process. Our application's real simple, 7 pages, that's it. We have a lot of educational content, 2 webinars we put out a week, a podcast we put out, a blog, so you could always get in touch with us and learn more. Our Pitch, Promote, Prosper event that I mentioned every other Friday. It's on Friday at 12 noon Eastern time till about 1 p.m. Sign in, listen to people, say what you've got to offer, what you're looking for, and network with like-minded investors. And then that other free offer, if you're a capital raiser, we do prepare partner pages where we can either put together a PDF and or a URL landing page for you that goes into what you do as a business and how people can invest with you using their retirement dollars. We don't charge for that. It's a great resource for people trying to tap into other people's retirement dollars and just show that it's a way to do things. It'll connect you guys with us. I'll work hand in hand with you and we'll get those clients set up. With that being said, Mike, I don't mean to run long on our podcast here, but thank you so much for this opportunity. It's been great to bring some education to your audience about my niche industry and career path here.
Yeah, thanks so much, Corey, for doing that. And yeah, if you are watching this online, go check out Corey's information, reach out to him. If you want to reach out and get the slide deck, you can email me. It's Mike, MIKE at realfreedom, RELFREEDOM.com. And I'll send that over to you. But Corey, what they do is fantastic. They help people. They're here to answer questions. And so if you have any of those questions and you just want to learn more, they're here for education purposes, which is awesome. And then also will help you get that set up. So thanks so much, Corey. Appreciate your time. The other thing I was just going to mention too, if you are trying to figure out like, what do you want to do for investing and you have questions, we have have a form that you can fill out, investwithelite.com. So investwithelite.com, and just gives us a little bit more information for you. And then if this is something that's a good route for you, we'll definitely point you over to Corey and get you helped out. So thanks so much, Corey. Appreciate your time. And best of luck to you in the future as you continue to work with folks and help them utilize real estate to fund their retirement accounts.
Yeah, thank you again so much, Mike, for having me. I hope this has been impactful and helpful to your audience, and happy to help whoever needs it. Just reach out. I will answer your questions. If I can't answer them, I'll point you in the right direction or do the best I can. I'm trying to be as honest about things like that as I can. So just here to be a resource and help anyone that can benefit.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Appreciate it.